we're going to construct a 75-degree angle. Now this is kind of tricky and it takes a little bit, and there's a lot of ways to get this right. But I'm going to go one that isn't horrible. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a line segment. So I pick the segment tool and I make a nice line segment AB. I'm going to zoom out because I think I'm going to need this for a second. So next, I'm going to use my compass because my goal is kind of to make an equilateral triangle. And then I'm going to bisect one of the angles. So I'm going to choose my compass tool and I'm going to measure that distance from A to B, and I'm going to leave that circle centered at A. And then I'm going to do that all over again, centered at B. And I can find their point of intersection. So I click both circles, I get points C and D, and I'm going to choose point C, but I know that ACB forms an equilateral triangle. So I'm going to connect the points just so I have that reference if I need it. Now my goal is to bisect angle CAB. Now I know there's angle bisection tools in Geogebra, and I encourage my students after they learn the basics of constructions that they can use some of those tools. But for now, let's assume that they haven't seen it yet, and I'm going to do a bisection the old-fashioned way. So I'm going to draw a circle centered at A. It passes through CA and passes through BA. Now I know I can use circle A, but I'm going to use something smaller because that's what we would do in a geometry classroom. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag, and as you can see, little circle A intersects CA and AB, and I'm going to mark those points of intersection. So I go up to the point tool and I pick intersect. So circle and side, and circle and side. So I get points F and G. Now I'm going to do a construction just like we would in geometry class. I'm going to make a circle centered at F, and I'm going to make a same size circle centered at G, and then we're going to draw a line where they meet up. So I'm going to use my compass tool, and I am going to go F to A, and I'm going to leave it centered at F, and then I'm going to measure that GA distance, and I'm going to center it at G. Now I've got this kind of football shape. It's an eyeball, it's a lemon, I don't know what you want to call it, but I do need to mark that point of intersection. So there's circle F and there's circle G, and they intersect at point H. Now it looks kind of convoluted, so I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit, but I do need to draw a line HA, and that would bisect that 60-degree angle on one corner of the equilateral triangle. So I'm going to draw a line that goes from A to H, and just so people know what they're looking at, I'm going to pick some of those pertinent parts, not with the axes though, and I'm going to bold them. So I'm going to thicken that line by a lot. So I kind of like how that looks. And I'm going to pick this one and I'm going to give it the same treatment. So I've got HAB is a 30-degree angle. I also need a 45-degree angle to go with it. So what I could do is completely off on the side. I could make a square, and I could bisect one of those angles, and then I could copy both of them and kind of combine them using that angle addition technique. But what I really want to do is I want to look at it from a different perspective. I know that HAB is a 30-degree angle. What I could do is I could construct a perpendicular to AB or a perpendicular to HA, and that would be 90, and then I could bisect that, and I could build it straight off of what we're talking about. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to construct a perpendicular to HA, and it should be hanging off diagonally, and then I'm going to bisect that angle afterwards. So normally if I want to construct a perpendicular to a line through a point, I would pick a point and I would draw a circle, and given that, I would kind of do the sweep from the two circle points where they cross the line. I already have a circle. I have the original circle centered at A, which is nice, and I'm going to use the points where it crosses that bold black line. So I'm going to choose my intersect tool, and I'm going to see where that black line crosses that circle, and it gives me points J and K. I'm going to sweep from J, and I'm going to sweep from K to make another football shape that's diagonal. So I'm going to use my compass, and if I just do it from J to A, it's not going to be big enough. I need something bigger, so I'm going to sweep from J all the way to K and get this large circle. And just to be really clear, I'm going to change its color so people know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to take that circle I just drew, center to J, and make it like blue. Works for me. Same kind of deal now. I'm going to use my compass tool, and I'm going to go from K to J. And I want to change that circle color too, and that one's pink. Now if you see this football shape formed by the pink arc and the blue arc, if I connect those two endpoints, it's going to go through point A and it's going to be perpendicular to AH. So I better find my intersection points. There's blue, there's pink, and it labels them L and M. And I better connect them with a line. And I'm going to color it just so I can see what I'm talking about. I made the line orange. So I know that LAH is a 90-degree angle, and I know that HAB is a 30-degree angle. So if I bisect LAH, I should get 45, and I can combine it with HAB. So to bisect my angle, I would normally draw a circle, and I would sweep, and then from those points of intersection, I would sweep and I would sweep. Luckily, I already have a circle center today. I feel like there's a ton of circles at this point, and they're kind of hard to keep track of, but at the same time, not the worst construction in the world. So my orange line crosses circle A, and I'm going to mark that point of intersection, just so I can use that point in a second. I also care where circle A intersects this big black line. That'd be line AH. Luckily, they already intersect at point K, so I don't need to mark it special. I do need to bisect NAK. So I'm going to use my compass, and it made me a pink circle. That works, but I'm going to change the color just so I know I'm dealing with a completely separate problem. And I made the circle purple. And I'm going to do the same thing with my compass centered at K. So I'm going to lock it in right there, and it gave me another purple circle. So I've got this purple football kind of hanging off, and I'm going to draw a line, but first I have to find out where they cross. So I'm going to choose my intersection point, purple circle, and it intersects at point P. And at this point there's a lot of letters stacked on top of A, but whatever. I've got to draw a line from P to A, and I know that that's going to bisect the right angle. So I'm going to draw a line. It looks like it's going to leave it orange. And I know this line PA bisected that right angle, and it looks ugly, but PAH is 45 and HAB is 30. So I'm going to put them together to make a 75-degree angle. So I'm going to make line segments that are green and as big as it lets me. So P to A and A to B. I know that PAB is a 75-degree angle.